Hey everyone, I had a nice quiet evening, so I decided to get another gameplay up. I made quite a few tweaks. I actually built a second Yisan deck to test out a few different cards at once. I got some inspiration from LandDestruction.com. There's a Yisan deck tech that I found there when I was researching, and I get to showcase some of the cards in this match. And as you can see, both on the screen and in the video title, I'm playing multiplayer again. And I'm really a fan of Yisan for multiplayer. He scales well with the number of players. Really, in a combo meta or a control meta, he does very well. The only place he's not very strong is in a removal heavy meta, like a low cost removal. If they can get him off the board before he activates the first two times I get him down, I'm probably too far behind to win the game. But I hope you guys enjoy the game, and I'll be talking about some of the stuff that I go through and the new card choices as I replay this game. So feel free to move the speed up to like 1.25 or 1.5 because I feel like I'm gonna have a longer one than usual. So maybe 20-25 minutes. Hope you guys enjoy the game, and we'll get into it. Like I said, I am playing Yisan. I win the die roll, which is fantastic. There we go. So I'm playing Odric, Lunar Marshal. He gives first strike, flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, or vigilance to his team, depending on what they have. Usually it's mono white tokens with lords and Odric or creature, and then creatures with these abilities, and then Odric turns those creatures into lords effectively. Varolz, the Scar Striped, probably the most competitive commander I see sitting at the table. Varolz is usually Infect combo or Scavenge combo and can be very, very fast. Then Liliana, Heretical Healer / Liliana Defiant Necromancer. Probably one of my favorite flip planeswalkers, and I think the second or third best easily. Probably tied for Nissa with JVP, not Baby Jace. Baby Jace is Jace Beleren, for all of you who played during Lorwyn. That's Baby Jace. JVP is 2-mana Flip Jace. But I think Liliana is probably tied for second with Nissa. Very good, usually a stacks build or dedicated reanimator. But you will see this seems to be a tribal zombie build. So, should be fun to play. Opening hand, two of the additions for the multiplayer deck, Kamal, just to have an overrun at 6, and Baru to have an overrun at 5. And because I'm not going to shell out 20 bones for Craterhoof on MTGO, these are what I'm working with, and conveniently, I have some things to make Baru himself much better for Forest entering the battlefield. Keepable hand, I have turned to Yisan. That's what this deck wants. Elvish Archdruid, I prefer to be in my deck, but I don't mind it here in my hand. So I'm definitely going to keep. And I'll try to go through as quickly as possible, but like I said, go down to the gear in the bottom right corner over here and crank up the speed a little bit because I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a longer one. So everyone keeps 7 except Faust, who kept a 6. I get a draw, which is awesome. Wirewood Symbiote. Definitely going to go with the Boreal Druid here. Emeriat. So we have tap land, and go through. I'm going to definitely deploy turn to Yisan and just F8. Save some time. Lightning Greaves, I don't care about that. Blighted Woodland into Fauna Shaman. Alright, so that's a pretty good card, especially when I don't have removal. Maybe the black player or the white player will be able to deal with it. The fact that two of these players are monocolor, black has no way to deal with artifacts or enchantments. I know my prison effects are going to be very good against him. They're going to be decent against white if he doesn't have removal in hand or mana open. Alright, so I'm just going to leave up Yisan, and I'm not even going to tap the attack with Boreal Druid. It's not worth it. I'd rather just keep it up. And he's going to tap out an F8. I'm fine with that. Not really representing anything. I don't like doing this on turn 3 in multiplayer. Represent something, at least. Come on. Represent swords, path. This is just telling us that of the 6 cards in your hand, you have nothing that you want to do. And now we know that if you don't do anything next turn but leave all your mana up, we should expect something. And you played a land or something. It's just, I can do it. I can accept it turn 1, maybe turn 2. Like if your turn 2 tap land, then tap your land just F8. It speeds the game up, but here I don't think so. Not when you have 3 mana open. Like just be ready on the F6. Hit it as soon as players go into their upkeep while everybody's waiting. Priority will never pass to you anyway, but you leave the mana open. Digraph Colossus, so this easily foretells that Liliana is a zombie tribal. Pretty good turn 3 play, and not going to fault him for it. I think it's a good beater. I'm, of course, going to Yisan and get... I jumped through the deck there. Sakura Tribe Scout, new addition to the deck, put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. But keep flying. That's not very good when you play so few lands in your deck and you get them all into play very quickly. Well, as you've seen in quite a few of my gameplays, if you've watched them with Yisan, there's a lot of effects that bounce forests to my hand. Quirion Ranger and Scrib Ranger are two of the best cards in the deck, and Yisan likes to get those untap effects. So Sakura Tribe Scout lets me keep getting those effects back over and over without any drawback. So Tribe Scout, I went for it on turn with the Yisan on 1 just because I wanted to test it out and see how it works, and I'm pleasantly surprised with it. So I got Hollow into play. I'm going to activate Yisan, keep my regeneration up, and I'm going to get that Scrib Ranger. And you'll see I made another addition to the deck, Wall of Roots for multiplayer, because it's once per turn, 1, 2, 3, 4 turns in a round, so I can get more value out of Wall of Roots in multiplayer. And Phyrexian Revoker as an additional hate piece, and I think he might actually be added to my 1v1 build as well. I don't get to use him in this game, but he seems like a very good upside against quite a few commanders. And I wouldn't fault other Yisan players for, in this situation, getting Phyrexian Revoker and naming Fauna Shaman. But what he got with Fauna Shaman, let me show you the revealed, Elves of Deep Shadow, and he didn't have a land, tells me I don't really need to worry about Fauna Shaman too much. Because I expect next turn he's going to play the Elves, and if he doesn't top deck a land, he's not even using Fauna Shaman anyway. So I don't really mind skipping the Revoker here and going for Valium. And then you see Seeker of Skybreak as a new addition to the deck as well. And it's just another untap effect. But I'm definitely going for the Ranger here. Untap Yisan, bounce a land, use the Tribe Scout, put a land into play. 3 mana open, activate Yisan. I also have the ability to and I should have done it on MTG Only's end step. Use Ranger, untap Tribe Scout, bounce my tapped Forest, and then replay the tapped Forest. What this effectively does is it untaps one of my forests every turn that they sit in play. So 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn. So I can tap out and then untap forest, and if I have one beforehand, I get a second Yisan activation here by untap Yisan per round. So I can get per round with this combo as long as I can have 4 mana essentially. It's very good so far. I think it's going to be I think Tribe Scout is going to make the cut in my 1v1 deck as well. But I make that mistake here, and I don't do it yet, and I should have, just because there's no drawback to it. All it does is untap that forest, and that means I would have Yisan regenerate on, and then untap or use Yisan and then Yisan regenerate with the Yavya Hollow open on these 2 turns, and I misplay there. Looking back at it, so he's going to tap out an F8 again, and Temple the False God is just foretelling that he just is gonna have mana trouble, and I'm not about to not take advantage of that, especially in a 4-player format. I got 120 life to deal with over the course of this game if I don't get any help from my opponents. So like that, Elves of Deep Shadow and F8. That's fine with me. Fauna Shaman didn't do anything, didn't get in. I wouldn't have faulted him for attacking MTG only, but I can definitely understand leaving it back to protect against Digraph Colossus attacks. I'm more of a fan of taking damage chunks out of opponents as quickly as possible when there's really nothing that you're protecting by leaving a creature up. When I leave a Boreal Druid, it's to protect against tax effects. tax effects, not stacks. My apologies. I know quite a lot of effects that are bounce unless pay 1, or kill unless pay 1. It's just nice to have that mana open in case I need it. Diagraph Colossus, he's going to get a zombie. That's fine. I'm going to use Scrib Ranger in response, and then Sakura Tribe-Elder, put a forest in, and play Yisan, use Yisan, get Wood Elves, get untap forest, just to protect Yisan. I would have chosen Elvish Archer if he was in my deck at that point, because I would have 2 elves in play. I'd still have 2 elves, but I probably would have chosen the Archdruid there if I had the option. Fleshbag calms down. So I see that I have Symbiote in play, and I think I have more long-term value by getting rid of the Boreal Druid and replaying Wood Elves, just in case they have Wrath effects. And I can get more mana out, and then Kamal's just going to win the game by himself at that point, if I can get ahead of the mana race. So I get rid of the Boreal Druid. They lose their Fauna Shaman. Naturally, they wanted the Mana Dork. And they pitched their 2-2, and I don't think that's the correct decision. Fleshbag is generally more valuable in the graveyard. I pick Restodon. Definitely not what I want to draw there. And now this is one of the cool combos that I saw on LandDestruction that you can do. So I tap Yisan while holding control on my keyboard, pay the 3 mana, and that retains priority on Yisan. So let me pay it. Alright, it puts the ability on stack, but I still have priority down here to activate another effect. So I'm going to use Scrib Ranger in response to Yisan's ability to untap him, and use Yisan again. And I put Sakura Tribe Scout on the stack to put the far back into play. Untap, tap Yisan. And the way that this works out is Yisan goes up to 5, and both abilities resolve at 5 verse counters, meaning I skipped the 4 verse counter to get 2 5s into play at once. So I'm definitely going to get the Seedborn Muse. 4-player game, it's going to be so much value over the course of this game that there's no better option. And the other option, I'm going to capitalize on this mana stall here. He's the most likely to play Wrath effects in mono white. Black is going to be playing Wrath effects, but I can't deal with them as easily. There are things like Toxic Deluge, Black Sun Zenith, Decree of Pain, Damnation, or Sacrifice effects, and I've passed 2 to get my Tajuru Preserver. So I'm going to deal with a person who is the most likely to play more Wrath effects than mono black. Black typically plays about 3. White decks I will usually expect about 4 or 5. Especially if the deck's designed for multiplayer. So I'm going to destroy his Maria here. If he gets it back somehow, it comes in tap. It's just strictly better than destroying a Plains. Temple's far away from producing mana, so I definitely destroy a Maria here. Because this effectively turns off 2 lands. Next turn, he could have played a land and had Temple active, because he would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By destroying a Maria instead of Temple, he will have 1, 2, 3 if he plays a land. Whereas if I destroy Temple, he would have 4 if he played a land, which is enough to Wrath. So I'm going to get rid of that Emeria. Get in against MTG only here, because he's the only one that I can deal damage to. And only is going to F8 again. So he's played a single spell this entire game so far. And on his turn, I'm going to go to 6. And I bait using the combo for a while, and I decided not to. I'm going to use Brutalizer Exarch and target this guy's Swamp. And my plan is to, on Tamalia's end step, use the same combo of Scrib Ranger Yisan to skip 7 and go straight to 8. And destroy and get Terastodon and Primal... Oh, I always forget the card. Sorry, Terastodon's in my hand, so I can't do that. So I destroy the Swamp. It comes into play. I do put it into play, you'll see. But he scoops in response, so I decide to go for the 7 this turn as well. For no loss of mana because of this Sakura Tribe Scout. And I could go for the Regal Force here, but I decide that Hornet Queen's going to be a better play. There's only 1 turn before I get to attack again. Hornet Queen's going to be good, and I can play Baru, and then use... So on his end step, I can use Scrib Ranger to bounce a forest, and not put it into play. And then on my turn, I can pay 4 mana, play Baru, play Forest, use Scrib Ranger, untap Sakura Tribe Scout, or untap one of my permanents, and then use Sakura Tribe Scout to put the same forest back into play and trigger Baru twice, giving my Hornets this +1/+1. So I'll be able to attack for 2, 3, 4. So that's 2 and then 6, but there's 5 of them. So I'll be able to attack for 5, 6 damage, and then another 10 on top of that, 16 damage from just the Hornets. And I think that's going to be the better play. 16 damage plus 521 plus 4, 521, 425, 229, 132, Scrib 36, Sakura Tribe 39, and Yisan 43 damage on one of my opponents with Trample, because he gives Trample and they can soak 1 damage, so it's a guaranteed kill and Taimala if I get the Hornet Queen here. And that's my plan. So put the Hornet Queen into play and let Tamila untap. And I believe MTG only is about to scoop as well. So he goes with Golgari Cluestone. Alright, that's fine with me. So I go for Woodfall Primus. I knew Primal. I can never remember the name of this card. Yell at me in the comments. For some reason, I just can't get it. So Woodfall Primus, and I know I have Null Rod in this deck as well. So I'm more inclined to destroy his land, because I have more things that will destroy artifacts and enchantments than I will that destroy lands at this point. I'm not really worried about MTG only. Right now my plan is to kill MTG only, cripple Tamila, and use kill the Guildgate with Primus, kill the Cluestone with Corruptor, and kill MTG only in the combat step. So that way I'm playing against Tamila with Blighted Woodland and an Elves of Deep Shadow against my board state. I don't think there's any conceivable way that he comes back from that, short of land Toxic Deluge, one of which has to be in his hand right now because he's been missing land drops. So I think that's going to be my most ideal play here. So let's get the Primus. Oh, I do go for the planes. Alright, so I'm getting them backwards. I'm just keeping that Wrath away then. And I draw Null Rod like a boss. So that's going to deal with this Cluestone very easily. So I run out the Null Rod. That shuts off these Lightning Greaves. So the single spell that MTG only has played is now completely useless. And I decided to go with Elvish Archdruid instead of my Baru combo, because Elvish Archdruid will allow me next turn to, with the effects of Scrib Ranger, to tap Archdruid for 1, 2... Oh, only 2. Okay. Usually the deck plays more elves out, but my 1-drop isn't an elf anymore. And Wirewood Symbiote to untap Elvish Archdruid. I'll be able to do a lot of, produce a goodly portion of mana on my next turn, and Kamal Overrun, which is, I think, more mana efficient than Baru, but I might be able to do Baru and Kamal effectively. Or at least cast Terracidon on my following turn and just deal with everything. So I go to combat step, and this is where MTG only concedes as I start putting my attackers into combat. There you go. So he's conceded. Liliana's conceded. And I crash in for quite a large chunk of damage that I'm not really worried about him being able to do practically anything after this. If he kills my board, that's fine. I'm not actually worried. He kills one of his mana sources. Another one's shut off. Like, he goes back down to 2 mana sources by killing my board, and this hand alone is enough to win the game beyond that. Because I'll be able to play Kamal and animate his lands and attack. Or animate my lands and overrun them, and be able to win that way. Or Baru, yeah. Either of these can win the game by themselves. Corruptor's not necessary, but I'm 1 land short of being able to, or I'm 2 lands short of being able to cast Terracidon on my following turn as well. So, if for some reason he's able to kill me, kill my entire board, and start drawing lands effectively, I only need to draw 2 lands, or a land and a mana source, or a single mana source like a Priest of Titania. To mention that Yisan will be coming out and starting to get me mana sources, and I'll be able to Terrastodon him and destroy 3 of his lands, and that should win the game by itself. So I crash in, put him to 13. He draws Swamp, taps it. I'm expecting Toxic Deluge. Taps 4. Balustrade Spy. Well, I immediately think maybe he's a combo build, and he targets me with Balustrade Spy for some reason. He sees my Sphere Resistance, and a Forest. What a good mill. So he played a 2-3 that lost him the game, and he scoops after that. Wow, not bad. Under 20 minutes for the entire gameplay. It was quick compared to some of the multiplayer, but I wanted to showcase really Sakura Tribe Scout, and after seeing it in this gameplay by itself, I think it has warranted the extensive testing in my 1v1 build. It seems to combo with Scrib Ranger actually really incredibly well. I think this combo is on par with Wirewood Symbiote and Elvish Visionary, which is the draw. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, but it's an elf, so you can bounce it with Symbiote. So if you want to do the value Yisan chain, you Yisan for Wirewood Symbiote. Then on the following turn, you Yisan into play at 2, Elvish Visionary. And ideally, turn 3, Yisan, turn 4, Symbiote, turn 5, Yisan. And you had 5, so that leaves 2 mana open. You Symbiote back the Elvish Visionary, untapping Yisan, attack someone with Yisan, play the Visionary again. You've drawn 2 cards. Then on your opponent's turn, you use Symbiote to bounce Visionary again, to untap Yisan for no value, but you get the Visionary back to your hand. So that's the value chain. I think this is probably on par with the value chain with how fast the deck ramps out, because suddenly the drawback of Scrib Ranger, only 1 land per turn, is seriously negated. This seems to be almost on par with like Azusa, Lost But Seeking, but the fact that it's instant speed and you can Scrib Ranger works on opponents' turns seems almost better than having to play regular land drops. I'm also playing the Sky Shroud 1-drop from 10th edition. With the same effect. The drawback of that is that it's a sorcery speed, so Sakura Tribe Scout is better, but it's not an elf. So you have trade-offs in the deck, but I was pleasantly surprised with how quickly this got out of control. I mean, the white player played a single spell the entire game, Lightning Greaves, and then it was shut off by Null Rod. This guy got 4 spells off in the entire game, and Liliana got 3 spells, I believe, the entire game, because they played... Nope, they just... for some reason, you can't see what they did. Yeah, because they played Colossus Fleshbag. Was that all they played? Yeah, it was Colossus Fleshbag, because they conceded when they played 4 mana. Colossus was 3, Fleshbag was 3. So they played 2 spells, white played 1 spell, and the green-black got 4 off, but stumbling on lands is not where the Volraz player wants to be. So, I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay. I talked for another like 3 minutes there on the end. Like, subscribe, share. If you want to see more multiplayers, feel free to let me know in the comments or comments down below, or private message me. Like always, feel free to add me on MTGO. Shoot me a message. Say, hey, I saw your channel. Would love to jam some games with you. Hornet Queen is also one of the new additions. Sorry, I just remembered that. This is in place of Adventure of Zendikar. It is the same point on the curve, but this costs less than 50 cents on MTG traders, and Adventure of Zendikar is 10 tickets. So I'm going to go with the 7 mana that costs 50 cents. I might do an updated deck tech for this specific build, and once I test this a little bit more and start to integrate things like Sakura Tribe Scout and Horn Queen and Brutalizer Exarch into my 1v1 build, I'll be updating that list as well, and maybe I'll release an updated deck tech for that as well. I will see you guys all in the next one.